Okay, good evening. First additional language, SP and FET. It's the 11th of June, can you believe it? And it's from a very windy and quite a chilly PE this evening. And we've had 2 big days of wind, and they say we possibly have some rain tomorrow. So I hope you're still all okay and enjoying the bit of freedom in level 3, and hope all the work is coming on. So let's get on with this session tonight. Right, we're getting to the last part of the Unit 3 genres, which we're going to be part of our Assignment 3 as well. So as you can see, it's the 11th of June, and we are going into visual literacy, the wonderful elements that shoot out of books in terms of visual elements like cartoons and advertisements, images, photographs. So we're going to look at the technical side of it, as well as how to evaluate and critically interpret what we're seeing. Just a bit of a rerun on your tasks and activities. We are now into the 12th of June, this Friday night, and your online tracking from film study is now due on Friday night, and I'll show you my spreadsheet. I can see quite a few still have to get to this, but you have got till midnight on Friday to do this. To the 19th of June, next Friday, after a lovely long weekend, you're going to have, it's the visual literacy online tracking will be then due for that. Well, we are now basically finished the 5 genres after tonight, and that means assignment 3 is becoming due, with the visual literacy section happening tonight for your lesson activity. And to finish off, it's obviously going to be assignment 4, which is a reflection on the course this semester. Okay. So as you can see, the assignment 3, the genres you've done already is the reading, the short story, the poem, film study last week. This week is visual literacy, giving you number 5, and all the elements we need to see with our eyes, which we're surrounded with daily. Okay. Okay, let's just have a look at your spreadsheet of task submission. All my happy faces are all the black. Seems to be quite a bit of red there, but those can't be changed. As you can see in week 11, which is due this Friday night, for the FET, only one person, I think that's Rochelle, if I'm correct, has submitted. And I looked just now, and 7 of the SP have submitted. It seems like we have to get numbers to about 21, which would be the number, which it says 24 active, but I think it's more like 21 of you. And although it says 11 active for the FET, I think it's more like 7 or 8 maybe. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Obviously, those are the things I watch, and I get a bit depressed about them. Okay, so get those submissions in for your online tracking. Thank you. Okay, so this is Unit 3 that we've been doing since we've come back after lockdown. We've done the reading theories. We've completed the literature readings for novel and short story, poetry and drama, all done. We've looked at the film studies, the visual literacy, and tonight we're going to look at cartoons, adverts, and pictures. Okay, that completes the visual literacy part. Next week, we'll look at some resources and then finish off, and 1 more week after that is best language teaching practices. I hope that is quite interesting as well. Okay, so let's just look at our outline for tonight on visual literacy, our visual thinking. I'm first going to have a look at CAPS and what CAPS says about teaching visual literacy. And then why is it important? Whole background or framework on how visual literacy is so important for us. And then again, to look at all the technical terms that you need to understand in terms of analyzing and interpreting visual elements. And then we look at 4 different kinds of text. We can look at symbols, and then the whole category of photographs, pictures, images, looking at advertisements, which often come up in the visual literacy sections of exam papers, as well as cartoons. And then Ferreira, our favorite book, has an active viewing of visual table that I'm going to refer you to in terms of analyzing visuals when you are doing this in an exam situation or you're trying to teach that. Okay, so let's look at CAPS first of all. Visual literacy is part of reading and viewing, that section of CAPS outcome 2. And according to CAPS, you have to have an understanding of all visual texts. And not only that, understanding is able to evaluate them critically, look at them, and this is why you need the technical understanding of what you're actually looking at in terms of angle, shot, color, body language, all those have to be assessed so that you can evaluate the text critically and then respond to them as well, answer questions about them. Yeah, visual literacy is how you make meaning of text. The same way you have to make meaning of something that's been written, you have to make meaning of something that is visual as well. And to do that, you have to be visually literate. Okay, that means you must be digitally literate. You've got to be visually literate. You must know what you're looking for. You must be able to understand what is visual, how to interpret it, and then to evaluate it finally. And I've got a little cartoon here. There's 3 frames here, and you can see what the boy and the girl are doing at the bottom. They're going tick, tick, tick. They've got their cell phones out there, and they are on TikTok or whatever they are doing. And the grandma says, the trouble with you kids is that you never know what is going on. You always have your nose in your phones. Okay, I think we all understand that. And all of a sudden, the next frame, we see the 2 of them outside, and the boy says, hey, when did we go outside? And she says, we're outside. And you hear the door slam. So you've got to be able to put that whole thing together. What actually happened? From the first frame to the second frame to the third frame, what is the message? What is actually happening with these 3? So it's being able to look at it visually, look at the context, look at relationships, look at the visual elements, the cell phones, the gaze, the slam, the use of font size, exclamation marks, and interpret that. These kids don't know what is going on. They don't even know they're outside after their grandma has shut the door and told them to get outside, okay, because their noses are always in their phones. I think you also know what you do when you get these phones going. Right, so in paper 1 for the FETs, you're going to have 20 marks out of 70 on visual literacy in your exam. And for the SPs, there's 15 marks, which is language in context in paper 2, where there will be some visual element in terms of analyzing an advertisement or a cartoon or a picture. Okay, right. So why are non-verbal codes so important? Okay, and this question I'm asking you, what makes an impression? If you're going for an interview, what is going to make an impression? And there are actually 3 elements. Interestingly, you would think that words and what you say are so important, but actually it's only 7% that they're going to remember. Apparently, they only remember the first thing that you say and maybe the last thing. So they don't remember very much of what you said. But what they will remember is that 55% your body language. How did you sit? Where were your arms? What was your face doing? What is the expression on your face? How did you move? How did you sit? What was your posture? Did you lean in? Did you yawn? All those things. And 38% is your voice. What was the tone of your voice, your modulation, your pauses? So if you've got a nice voice, you're very lucky because people will always remember your voice. If you have a lovely deep voice, they will remember you. If you're very positive, you stand up straight, you lean forward, you smile, they'll also remember that. Unfortunately, they don't remember much of what you say. So to make a good impression, you've got to have good body language and you've got to have a good voice, say the right things, but not so much of what you say. It's quite interesting. Some people say this is all a myth, but I think the non-verbal messages are quite powerful as they come through in terms of situations like interviews and meeting people. So they also say you don't often have a chance to make a different impression, so make sure that first one's pretty good. Okay, so our introduction is that we're surrounded by visual literacy all the time. My facial expression tonight, your facial expressions, what we look like, our gestures, our use of hands, Google Maps, road signs, symbols that we see around us, films and TV, posters, advertisements, illustrations, the list goes on endlessly. Everything is visual. Our cartoons, yeah, they're looking at the Alps and the parents are intrigued by it, but the daughter's looking at her cell phone and she's saying, yes, another scenic era, not even worrying about the beauty of the reality around her. Yep, and this is the beautiful Toyota, the advertising for vehicles. We see those all the time. Symbols, what is that for? Do you know what it means? Okay. And of course, packaging, yes, a Smarties package. These are all visual things that we are surrounded by daily. I'm going to go through 5 nonverbal codes that you actually will need to interpret different visuals. The first one is proxemics. I'm going to show you visual now for what proxemics is, but it relates to space when we communicate, our territory, okay? How near or how far do you like people to be when you're talking to them, okay? And there's different categories of people, if you like near, and others if you like further away, proxemics. Also, our clothing and our personal adornment, it's normally used to show our group membership. If you are wearing a sari, it might be Indian. If you're wearing Sheila, you might be coming from the Middle East. So the different things that we wear which indicate where we come from. Our gaze, do we make eye contact to show that we're paying attention, or do we avert our eyes to show no attention? Culturally, this also has different meanings. Making eye contact might be rude in one culture, but quite acceptable in another. So it's also culturally different. Our facial expression, we often use a smile to convey happiness and a frown to show displeasure, we're not happy with something. They say there are 5 facial expressions that are universal, so whether you're happy or you're sad, people will understand that facial expression. Kinesics is our body movement, the whole sort of alignment of our head, neck, hands, posture. So we will lean forward to show that we are interested in something, but if we lean backwards and fold our arms, it often indicates that we are actually not very interested in something, right? So the whole body movement is quite powerful as well. Then voice, of course, as well, is another nonverbal code. And the quality of our voice will usually convey a message, whether it is sincerity, we are being sincere, how we say it softly, slowly maybe. We're showing respect to someone, we are showing trust, compassion, or are we angry? What do we do to show anger? Right. This is the little visual for proxemics. You can see there are 4 different zones. So if you're studying a cartoon, you might look at the different zones of the people that are pictured in that frame. If they are sitting very close, that means they are normally family or friends. It's what we call the intimate zone. It's only the zone we want people that we know and trust to come into, normally our family and friends. Then we have the personal zone, which is a bit further away. It can go from half a meter to 1 meter, just further away. Social zones, people in the streets, we don't like them to come close, especially now social distancing. That's 1 and 4 meters. 2 meters is what it should be. And public, we like them to be further apart. Okay, we don't like them to be too close. And if someone who you don't know comes too close to your intimate zone, you feel very uncomfortable. Okay, so that's how we judge it. The next one is our personal adornment, which puts us in certain categories, what our cultures are and what is appreciated by certain cultures. When you wear an abaya, you are associating yourself with a certain culture. If you're wearing a sari, if you're wearing leather pants, a rocker. So these are different things that might show you to be from a different culture. Then your kinesics or gaze. I think this is kinesics and gaze is visual. You can see the person who's obviously chairing the meeting is looking directly at one of the speakers, and that visual gaze and eye contact shows that she's listening to him, but she's also leaning in, showing that she's really paying attention to what he is saying. In this one is also kinesics. You can see you've also got the leaning in by the lady on the left. The lady on the right has got her hands open, which shows an open gesture to show that she's not hiding anything. She's very honest and trustworthy. And you can see the lady leaning in is really taking in what she is saying. If you were looking at these 3 candidates for an interview, who would you think would be nervous? And you would do this by looking at facial expressions, the kinesics, the gaze maybe of the different applicants here. I would say the one for me on the left, she's got her hand in the steeple position. That shows extreme confidence. Although she's not making eye contact, her body's up straight and she seems confident. The man putting his hand to his mouth shows a bit of nervousness, and the lady on the right biting her lip also suggests, and her hands together on her lip. The man also folding his arms, also showing a blocking position. So these are all things that indicate different levels of confidence when you're watching people. Okay, that's your voice. You are late again, and you can see the anger and frustration from her kinesics, from her posture, from her gaze, from her facial expression, that she's quite annoyed with that. And the voice would be very loud, for each word will be said separately. I'm sure you've all had that said to you at some time. And yes, are you lying? Often when we lie, we move our hands, we touch our hair, we look to the left or the right, and we don't make eye contact, and showing all kinds of visible things that our body is saying we are actually lying. Okay, don't tell lies. Right, and so here we're coming on to expressions. How are you feeling today? Today I'm feeling happy, silly, confused, angry, sad. He has all our emojis, showing all of these that we use on our cell phones all the time to indicate how we're feeling. I hope tonight you're all feeling a bit cool, not cold, but cool, happy, that you're not feeling sick, that you're all wearing your masks and you're all nice and well, that you are not feeling too tired at this point, and mostly that you're happy and contented. So these are all the different faces that we see all the time on our cell phones, and we use to show how we are feeling at that point. Okay, how are you feeling? Right, so CAP says the value of visual literacy is that it should be integrated into everything that we do to enrich and extend the learning area. So if you're doing listening, you could use something visual to explain what you're doing. If you're doing reading, if you're doing writing, visual can come into everything. I mean, if you think about graphics in writing, to describe a graph, this is part of visual literacy within the writing genre. If you've got a picture with the reading sections, also showing you something of the visual. So the whole idea is to integrate this. Specifically what CAP says with senior phase, every aspect of every outcome has got a visual literacy section to say you use this to extend and enrich. So it's really important to put it in. There's a specific section within the FET with visual literacy, which you will use. And this kind of skill visual literacy requires you to have interpretive skills. And these include how to analyze body language. Now what you're talking about, that you've got the tools to talk about body language, that you can speak about gestures, you can speak about gaze, that you can speak about the whole kinesics of the body, that you can speak about facial expressions, that you can interpret facial expressions, that you know what gestures mean when the person says that, stop. Those are things that you should be able to understand. If someone is doing that with their mouth, what does that mean? If you had a picture like that in exam, what would that face be saying to you? It would be showing that you're not sure, you're thinking about it. So it's interpreting these sometimes quite complex facial expressions. It's also to evaluate context and language use. And this is, I'm looking at emotive language. When you say, I'm dying, what does that mean? What are you actually implying? Or is there a drought in this house? These things imply certain things. Is a person speaking factually, or is it an opinion that's been expressed? So this is another part of language you should need to understand critically. And irony, it often happens in cartoons that they're actually expressing something completely different to what the intended meaning is, and to be able to pick that up. So it is a critical language use analysis that you need to apply often in cartoons and visual. And then to predict the outcomes from that visual, what is going to happen now? Why did that granny shut the door? What's going to happen now? And often means you must think laterally, creatively about anything. So it's not going to be just the fact and opinions of what you see in there, but what is the creative message that is coming through? Okay, I'm taking you through a cartoon, yeah, with Garfield and John, and there's 3 frames. This is the terminology I'm using. So the first frame, you've got this tap, 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 bam, bam, bam. Garfield is looking on, not very impressed, and he hears the words, and you can see the word bubble coming from the left, indicating that that's a sound coming from the left. Ow, my thumb. Middle frame, tap, tap, bam, ow, my thumb. And there comes Johnny in frame 3. He says, I've decided that I'm not going to hang up the picture today. You can see his eyes, the expression is beautiful. And of course, wiry old Garfield says, have you run out of thumbs? And that's your thought bubble that's coming. He's very critical of John, and that's typically the thing he would say to John. So to interpret this and understand what is going on in terms of facial expression, the use of fonts, punctuation, thought bubbles, other bubbles, speech bubbles, to understand all that. Okay, also value of visual literacy is it helps you discuss important topics. So if you're going to be speaking about drug addiction or tolerance or social distancing or abuse, use of cell phones in classrooms, it's good to have the visual because it inspires and triggers the responses from students and they can understand what you're getting at. The use of CCTV, surveillance in universities, in classrooms, in homes, to be aware of that, to talk about it, to know about the ethics of it. Why is it needed? Do we need them, really? What about seatbelts? Should we buckle up? Why is it important to buckle up? What about smoking? Okay, especially now that smoking is banned, what about smoking? What about the effect of smoking? It can also broaden your outlook and on topics that are very current. It might be debated at the moment, something to be argued, to adopt an outlook on something. And for instance, the teacher might show a picture of masks at this time. These are quite stylish, different kinds, and to discuss why they're important, what the pros and the cons and everything else are about wearing face masks at the moment. Okay, so we've gone through the outline up to the value of visual literacy, and now we're going to look at general terms that we need to discuss and analyze visuals. So the first thing is you need to look at the subjects in the visual and look at their expressions. There's a whole lot of, there's 5 expressions. We have universally, happy, sad, surprised, shocked, and angry. The body language of that, the visual. What is the gaze? What are the kinesics? What are the proxemics? What about the relationship between the people? Are they close, distant, friendly? Are they strained? What is the setting, the location, the time, and the space? And if you look at this picture, this was actually taken in 2004. Some of you born there, I think you were. This was the tsunami. It was just on New Year's, it was on Boxing Day. It happened in Thailand. And there you can see this group of women together on the beach. And if you look at their facial expressions, you can just see the actual grief of what's actually happened and the extreme grief that they're feeling. You can see their kinesics, that they are sitting closely together, their arms are down, their faces are up. They are looking, one lady's looking at the other's making no eye contact. And you can see they're obviously very close. So it's quite a distort. The setting would obviously be the Thailand, and the time would be 2004. Also in the pictures, you have the different compositions, the layouts. You have the center where the focus is often, but then you often have something maybe in the foreground and something in the background. You look at this picture, here you can see possibly all those compositions and layout. You see the little girl's face in the foreground, which is really the focus of the whole picture. Then you can see the center, which is the fire, and then you can see the background, which is even further away. So that you actually have different layers that you'll be looking at through that one. Also, use of color. Black, white is more somber, whereas more colorful, it gives more vibrant look to the picture. And interesting is the actions. You think a picture is still, you can't see any movement, but some pictures, if you look at this one, it's not really static, it's inferred. There seems to be movement inferred in it from the line that the camera goes from the little girl right to the fire. So there's movement, whereas the one before was very much a static picture capturing just that moment. This was also the tsunami as well, but this seems to have for me more movement. There's movement inferred, even those hands are lines going out to show movement away. So some pictures capture movement just the way they are visually put in, her arms, her hands going up in supplication. So it's quite a distressing picture. So I thought I'd put in something that was a bit happier. This was in the Philippines. It was also a disaster area. It was a typhoon that annihilated most of this area. And there's a little boy called, his name San Diego, and his sister is Princess, and they were both safe. And you can often see the bond, the closeness between them, showing the close relationship. You can see the happy face he's got. You can see him holding her tightly. He's making eye contact with the camera. They're obviously in the intimate zone because they are so close to each other. So you focus, this will be your focal point, and then you can see the other stuff in the background. Okay, these are also the other terms. Vectors and lines are also part of pictures. These show movement as well in pictures, and you can have straight, curved, intersecting, vertical, horizontal lines, and also the focal points. So if you look, this is a vector. If you see it, you can see the dogs moving, and the vectors are the lines that are drawn on the dog's back and on the leash to show that the dog is moving. So those are showing direction of movement. This is the curved line. It's also got movement. If you look at this picture, you can also see movement going into that, the curved lines. This is what we call straight lines, but it's still moving out. You're traveling along this pier and you're moving out of it, so you get the whole feel of movement within the way the picture has been taken. There's another movement as well. You're actually moving along this fence. It looks like a prison, but you can actually get a sense of movement because of these lines on it. Angles, you get, as we did film study, the high, the low, the level, as well as the camera shots. Is it far? Is it medium? Is it close? So if you look at this very strange picture, this is quite morbid, isn't it? This I found was quite interesting. It was called Selfie, this picture. Yes. If you have a look at the angle, we're looking, it's a high angle. We're looking down at it. And this shows that this person is in a distressed state. It's quite a close-up view, although we're also looking up from that level as well. But if you look at the view's perspective, we are looking down at this person. The camera might be looking slightly up, but you are looking down at him. And so what is the message? And all the gravestones in the background, what are these symbolic of? What is actually happening here? So then you'd say, well, what is the message from this picture? You know, what is actually happening? So it's to unpack all this information, looking at angles. What is the angle showing? What is the camera shot showing? What is the line showing? So therefore, what kind of meaning am I coming to with this picture? This was an earthquake. You can see another disaster picture. And there's also lines where you can see that it's quite the inferred movement. The building is going to fall over. You can see it's leaning to the side. You're looking up, so it's your perspective is looking up, so you're right down here looking up towards it, so it is going to be precariously going to fall down. It's a wide lens, and all of these have got different meanings. This is for the foreground, the middle, what is the focal point there as well. Okay, so we're going to get into the 4 types of visuals now that we need to look at. First, I'm going to look at symbols. This is a sign or an image to represent something. So as you have a sign to represent something, for instance, wonder what that is. Okay, that is all our Apple iPhone, and all of you should recognize that. There's a whole lot from MasterCard to Starbucks to Google to the Swish for Nike, Coca-Cola. So these are all different images and symbols that we see all the time. I think you all know what that means. If you see that somewhere, you'll know that you are in danger. And yes, what was that? What would that be? If you were a woman, okay, you'd know where the bathroom was. So these are signs we learn to recognize. But along with all these symbols, you must think about how clear is that message. So when I see that with a woman standing there, well, I know that that is a ladies for the woman, okay? Or what would I understand it? Who's my target? Would it be a Western population? Who would I be targeting with that? And what is the understanding the person would have? So you've got to think about this. Are the symbols good? Would I recognize what it's meant to recognize? Photographs. These are also the pictures and images. And this is obviously, as you know, photograph is an image recorded by a camera. And here we see Madiba on Robben Island, and he's staring out his prison window through the bars. And there's a lot that we can assess about this. What is the context? It's Robben Island. It's sort of it's more portrait than a landscape type picture, I would say. There is the fore, the back, and the middle ground. Focal point is Madiba. Is it a stable picture that he's not moving, or is it dynamic, it's moving? And I think if we are moving out with him, we're looking through those bars, seeing what he's looking at. So there is movement there. what's his expression? He looks quite peaceful, I think, contented, and strangely. His body language is very relaxed, his hands hanging down there. The angle is level, so we are seeing this with him. The light and the dark make us think that maybe this is not reality. It might be something that's a flashback to the past. It makes me feel sad, okay, that kind of feeling. What is the theme? Is he looking forward to his release? Okay, interestingly, Standard Bank took a similar picture of someone looking out of, looks like bars as well, but it was a dub on the previous picture, and that was for security as well. So this lady was contemplating what was going to happen to her when she reaches the age of 65. She says she can cook, she can look after her son, but can she look after herself when she gets to 65? And Standard Bank assure her that she can. But here's a visual playing on the one of Mandela. Here's another picture of Mandela. This is after 1994. And if you just look at this picture, the different, what's in the foreground, what the focus is like, where he's looking at, they're all looking the other side. So they're looking at something which gives movement as well for the picture. So you'd look at that. This was 1995 World Cup winners, the rugby. And here we have Mandela again with, what's his name? I had his name. Francois Pena. No, it's not. I must think about that. I'll have to think about that. And here's the World Cup. I'm going to get the name now. That's delightful. Right, so the focal point is there, but can you see Mandela's hands on his shoulders? Quite an intimate. They're shaking hands. They're making eye contact. There's color in it, and it's quite a joyful picture. Francois Pena. Am I right? I don't know. Right. Okay, we're getting on to advertisements now. An advertisement is a public notice promoting a product, a service, an opportunity, or a cause. Okay, those are things that it does. And it appeals to different desires and needs and values that we have within us. That's why we buy the products. And it could be health, enjoyment, luxury, beauty, success. And now we've got the Nike ad, move more, move better. Right, it's success, it's health, it's power, all the things that Nike captures within that. Yeah, we've got Mountain Dew, the sense of adventure, boys getting out together, they've been successful in their hike, and if we drink Mountain Dew, we'll also be exciting adventurers like they are. Yeah, is Coke. You've got lots of friends, so you've got happiness, enjoyment, camaraderie with your family, with your mommy, with your dad, and if you share Coke, you will have companionship. So we can get that with having our names on the bottle. What about money to burn, luxury? Okay, this beautiful car gives you power, shows that you've got status. So you buy this vehicle because you will have that if you have this vehicle. All right. And Gucci, yes, beauty, the luxury of all these products, making us look wonderful. This is what inspires us to use these products. And the last one is health. Yes, you're brushing our teeth. We can have 24-hour freshness. And all these are designed, the words and the visuals are designed to make us purchase the product. Right, so if you look at the language of advertisements, you've got headlines that you need to look at. Often they've got slogans that should become well known with the advertisement, the Just Do It, the Nike one, the swish for the logo, and then we have different fonts, colors. And here you can see as an advertisement for Nike, Just Do It, playing soccer, and that inspires people to do just that. The language is also just as important. We've looked at all the visual now, and then you can see there's a whole list of things that you need to look out for when you are looking at advertisements. They use puns, they use things like pronouns like you and your and we to show you all together, exclamation marks, rhymes, alliteration, using celebrities, questions, catchy phrases, all these things are important to make us buy. All right. So this is one with health, using evidence and statistics, which makes us believe it's all true. And all horrified that 80% of bacteria in our mouth is not on our teeth. You think it is, but it's actually our teeth, our cheek, our tongue, and our gums. And just using Colgate will protect us, okay, 100%. So The whole idea is using scientific facts, maybe half-truths, to entice us to buy the product. So we are inspired to use Colgate. What about this? We've got alliteration there, fuel up, feel good, play on words, puns, and then you've got the petrol attendant and the petrol coming into the Coke. But the whole idea is that have a McDonald's and you'll be able to fuel up and feel good. So there's a literal and the figurative meaning for those as well. And I suppose you're all inspired now to head out and get your McDonald's. What about Nando's? Also took out with the COVID-19 and the pandemic we experienced when it came up with this lovely saying, turns out finger licking isn't good, rather reach for the soap. So there you go, playing on the whole situation as they always do, and still getting people to buy their products. Using celebrities, so we've got Roger Federer saying love 15, which is the tennis score, but this is his 15th victory, and also we love that about Federer using that to sell Nike as well. L'Oreal, use of you because you worth it, making us feel that we're really great. And this all does triple resist for us. It's done a lot of work for us, gives us security, gives us beauty. And if we use this product because you're worth it, we'll look exactly like this beautiful woman. So all these things to inspire us. Okay, also in advertising, they've got the AIDA principle to analyze. So there's the A, which stands for attract the viewer. So the first thing you do is look at the headline of the image. And then you look at the I, which is the I of AIDA, and that's your interest aroused, and that is normally through our needs. And this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, going right from our physiological needs, which is our need for water, shelter, sleep, clothing. That is what the needs are used in advertisement to inspire us to buy the product. Our safety needs, our need for a job, for resources, for property, for employment. That's our insurance, all those insurance, outsurance, all of those insurances are so captivating because people have got this need. Love and belonging, we all want to have friends. We want to drink Coke, so we've got friends. Intimacy, belonging. The one just below the top one is esteem, our need for success, for power, for status, recognition. So all those kinds of products that make us feel that we are gaining that. And the final one is self-actualization, is another need we all have to achieve. And nowadays, we also, they've added these two to the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, that we also need to survive physiological, we need Wi-Fi and we need battery life. So if we don't have Wi-Fi and battery life, it's the same as we don't have the physiological, we actually will never make self-actualization. So another two layers we need as well. The D is desire, the benefits we have if we've got this product. So if you've got insurance, what are our benefits that we won't lose out, we'll be protected, we'll have security for our family, and those things are our desires. And finally is the A, the last A is the action. And once you've gone through all the A, I, D, the action is to go and actually purchase that product. So this is one way you can analyze an advertisement. You can look at the headline, the interests, the desires, and the action. And yes, an advertisement again, if you look at the headline is I am perfected, something is perfecting me. And if you go through the value, I desire to be beautiful, to be loved, to be successful. The benefit is that it's going to do it for you. It's going to be easy to get this perfection because this product is going to do it for you, and then you will go and buy the product. So not only women that look at products, it's men as well. And yes, by L'Oreal, the men experts. And we've even got Gerard Butler, who's an actor who is now promoting this product. And it says, men, you don't have to look tired anymore. With this anti-fatigue moisturizer, you are now going to be able to not look tired. You don't even need to have a facelift because it will do it for you. So the whole idea, this need to be beautiful, to look good, is to enhance both men and women and encourages people to buy this products that don't make us look, that we don't look tired and we look like we've had a facelift. So we must look sharp and not tired. Okay. Okay, we're getting on to number 4 now is cartoons. That's the 4th one we're going to, so moving on. Is any drawing or picture, often with text, delighted to entertain and amuse us. And we've got different vocab here. We've got to know about speech bubbles. That's a thought bubble. And there's our speech bubble, how they look, what they're different. We've got to look at caricatures. And there we've got a lovely one of Trump and Mr. Bean. Okay, they are exaggerated facial features, normally one facial feature to exaggerate for amusement. We also got stereotypes. If you are a laborer, what do you look like? If you are a Muslim, what you look like? If you are American, what you look like? If you're Indian, what you look like? These are all stereotypes, not necessarily true, but what people show for those characters to be. We've also got a frame sequence when we're looking at cartoons, and the use of language satire, which is extreme irony. Sometimes it's really cutting and hurtful. Irony is just meaning the opposite of what you say. If you say to somebody you're early, you actually mean they're late. A parody is like when you take a play on a known story, Cinderella, and you make it funny in another way, or Three Little Pigs, and use it in another setting. That's parody. There's another one with Garfield, and here again you can see the proxemics, their gazes. You can see where they're looking to the left all the time. And you can see the voice bubbles, and you can see the thought bubbles. You can see gestures, and you can see gaze. So these are things you'd analyze before you get to the message and how you would explain it. Why are the mice running laps in the kitchen, John says in the first frame. Second frame, he says, and washing my car and doing jumping jacks. Why are the mice doing this? And he says, what happened to my happy six-pack of energy drinks? And that's actually where they went, and that's why they are doing all these things. I can't see what Garfield is saying because I've got a picture over that. Okay. Right, how do we study cartoons? We've got to look at the characters, as you said, caricature, stereotypes, facial expressions, all of these visual elements we need to look at again and analyze them. We've also got to look at the background and setting. As with film, as with all the others, you have to look at pictures. We've got to look at all these types. We'll then look at the language, what has been used, the same as advertisements. We've got to be able to follow the sequence. If you look here, you can see the use of bold language, bold words to show emphasis. You can see massive use of punctuation, question marks, exclamation marks, capitals to show shouting, thought bubbles, and proxemics and facial expressions. Same thing, you'll have to analyze all of those as well. Here again, we have Lucy shouting. Again, you can see the use of a question mark and an exclamation mark. You can see the bold, you can see the capital letters, you can see her gestures, you can see her hand pointing up, and her big mouth open to show that she's shouting. So you would analyze all of this. And yeah, we've got another series here of taking you through frame 1, frame 2, taking you to her thought bubble, and she's thinking that's nice. So she's sitting at school saying, I wish I wasn't stuck at the school on this computer. She's working, very old computer, not flat screen. Just think of all the fun I could be having at home. And then she imagines herself at home, yes, working on her laptop. And in the last frame, she says, that's the life. I mean, and that's the irony. It's not so much different to what she's doing all the time to explain that. Okay, this is my last slide. So that's pretty good. This is from Ferreira, table 14.1 and page 226 to 227. She discusses this active viewing analysis, putting all this together. And she said there's 3 things you're going to have to do. The first thing is to look at the visual choices. So the first thing you'll do is look at the cartoon, the ad, the picture visually. And that's when you look at all the technical elements of it. And from the framing to the cropping to the shot to the angle, facial expression, gaze, image clothing, you discuss all of that and look at all of those issues. The second thing, we'll come back to that now, is that you look at the kind of relationship. What relationship is construed between the viewer and the subject? When I look at this, what do I think? What is the relationship I'm feeling with this? Am I understanding it? What kind of message am I getting through? And the final thing is to look at the words. So it's the visual, the relationships, and the words being used in the message. And those are different kinds of language that they will use. If you look at this, was the visual from a grade 9 language paper. It was an advertisement for the use of sport to encourage people to gain new life. And here you can see the football, you can see it's like an egg breaking, and you discuss the literal and the figurative aspect of this visual, the color, the use of the image of the soccer ball, that sport can give people new life. And you could go and you could actually discuss this whole, looking at all these different elements. All right, so that brings me to the end of this lecture. Next week, we'll just look at a few resources for all visual literacies. I would say for you, the online tracking task is already on ECI, so you can get to that as well based on this this recording. And don't forget that you need to start finalizing all the tasks for your assignment 3, including use of one of the genres that we've discussed this evening as part of your lesson activity. So with that, I'm going to say good night. Stay safe, and I'll chat to you next week, but there'll be a canned recording from me. So take care. I've got emails coming through. I've seen them. I've responded to most of you, but if you've got any queries, just get back to me. So I'm going to say thanks, Simon, and we'll chat again.
Thanks, Marcel. Have a lovely evening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Simon. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.